Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Sugat, a product manager at Meta, and I create content related to product management, interview, and career. If you're here for the first time, please don't forget to check some of my previous videos where I've covered interview experience for more than 50 plus companies and also have hosted some of the great product leaders. In today's episode, I have one of the senior product manager who has recently cracked LinkedIn. Welcome, Mikul.
Thank you, Sugat. So nice to meet you and all your audiences. Hello.
Awesome. This is gonna be a fun episode because I gonna also share some of my interview experiences at LinkedIn. So it's gonna be fun. Understand how the LinkedIn hiring has changed in 2025 and when I interviewed, which was back in 2022. So let's keep it rolling. But before that, I would request everyone to please like, share, and subscribe this channel so that it reaches out to a lot of folks. Without any further ado, let's get started. Mikul, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. So I started my career as an engineer. So I would say I was engineer by chance, did my undergrad in electronics at IIT Roorkee, following the herd, and so realized coding is not my cup of tea. So ended up doing an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. Then I had my own mental health startup where as a CEO of this company called Mood Cafe, I led a 14 people team to help give people a safe space to vent out. We proudly saved 9 lives there. After my startup, I formally transitioned into product role. So first with a SaaS startup browser stack. And from there, I joined Microsoft. So last 3.5 years, I was part of Microsoft in their commerce and ecosystems team. Now, after this, January 2025, which is 2 months since we're recording, is when I joined LinkedIn. Microsoft to LinkedIn, just for the audience benefit, is considered an internal transfer. So, though the process remains as good as an external candidate. So, I joined LinkedIn recently in the business platform team in Bangalore. Right. What's not
Awesome.
on my LinkedIn profile, I would say I'm also a recent father of a 2-year-old, I would say. Love football. And I've been mentoring a lot of people, right? So I help over 60 people crack product jobs. So I've been like pretty slow on it last couple of months, but yeah, I do love helping people succeed.
Awesome. I think pretty interesting career, Mikul. And folks watching out this channel, if you want to connect with Mikul, I have linked his LinkedIn profile right in the description of the channel. Feel free to reach him out to if you need any help in your product career or interviews, and definitely Mikul would be more than happy to help them in your journey.
Sure.
Awesome. I think this episode gonna be really interesting because LinkedIn is one of a platform where we all go and look for our next job, career, and dreams. It's gonna be interesting to understand what's the hiring process for LinkedIn in 2025 and the aspirants who are planning to apply for the interviews. What are some of the key takeaways and practice and the process? We're gonna discover everything in this video, so stay tuned till the end. Mikul, let's get started. Walk us through the entire process of how you got that recruiter call and what were the kind of different rounds, the interview questions. We'd love to know in as much detail as possible.
Sure. Let's get started with how I got the call, right? So and this was somewhere in September, October 2025, I guess. So I actually was interviewing at multiple firms like Google, Uber, LinkedIn, within Microsoft, and so on. What generally worked, because given how the time is, generally worked is reaching out to either the hiring manager or the recruiter. And I'm talking about the good firms. So let's say I might have reached out to a lot of people, cold call just to like get the calls. For smaller companies that works out, referrals worked out, but we are in a time frame where like everyone gets a referral, right? Everyone knows someone in big tech. So what really worked out for me is for each of these companies, not just LinkedIn, right? Even with like Google and Uber and others, getting to the either to the hiring manager or recruiter, right? Like in some ways, right? Via friends, via directly messaging, and different ways. LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn helped me get this job. So I actually discovered this LinkedIn.com portal, right? And then I reached out because I was in Microsoft. We get to see like the details in terms of we can directly reach out to the hiring manager internally via Teams, right? So I just pinged her and said, "Hey, I'm really interested in this role." And then she asked me to connect with the recruiter and set up an introductory call. So that's how I got into the process.
Nice.
Yeah. And then what happened is I talked to the recruiter. Now, coincidentally, I had also got a friend of mine who had recently joined LinkedIn to also refer. So he also parallelly referred in another org, I think, which was your ex team. And I kind of got both I got shortlisted for both of them. So this recruiter really so we had a deep conversation with the recruiter. She helped me narrow down to one of them, right? So generally in such cases, companies, at least LinkedIn, wanted to go ahead with just one, like, top priorities to start with, and then, like, if it doesn't work out, we could have switched to the second one, right? So I think I had to do some homework to really understand the teams. One is like the team, the product, the vision, all of that, and also the economics. And then the recruiters are very helpful. At least with LinkedIn, I think that was my best hiring experience I had till date, right? So she was really helpful to help me like narrow it down. And then I chose this team where I'm currently working, right? And we went ahead. You want me to walk you through the process as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to hear what happened in terms of the timeline as well. That once you got the recruiter call happened, how did the interview started and what were the different kind of rounds?
And this is particular for product, right? It could differ for other profile. So the first one was a hiring manager role, which was a 30-minute discussion with the hiring manager. It was a proper interview, which was a mix of introductions, understanding the role. She also asked me some questions, the typical behavioral product questions to understand what my thought process is and like open the floor for certain questions, right? So, what really helped me is doing a good background check of the hiring manager of the team, right? It doesn't hurt to like ask for help and trust me.
Mm.
I mean, I reached out to people I didn't even know, right, on LinkedIn, and a lot of them were very helpful to like help me understand what it does. Now, LinkedIn, interestingly, is neither too big nor too small, I would say. Like, I come from Microsoft, right? So LinkedIn is big, but then I see from that scale, right? So like, it's still relatively easier to get to or narrow down to like people who can help you understand the team dynamics and like what the team really does. So that kind of helped me get a good clarity. Now, after this 30-minute hiring manager round, as they say, they get you into a loop, right? Loop is basically a set of interviews. So in this case, there are four interviews, and even other companies generally have three or four, where a candidate definitely goes through all the four, even if whether you perform well or not, right? So there were like
Yep.
four rounds. Each round assessed on different capabilities. Pardon me, it's still been like a while, so I don't like 100% remember, but what I vaguely remember is like one was for like the product craft, the general product thinking. One was domain specific. So this hiring manager kind of was hiring me for like the payments domain, right? And it was stuff that was mentioned in the JD. So somewhat in that domain area. I think there were the other two. If I remember correctly, one was on general leadership execution. How do I think and stuff, right? So, and I honestly don't remember the fourth one. But the thing is, the recruiter really helped me clarify what would be there in each of the rounds, and
Hmm.
they also like tell you which would be what, right? So you exactly know which round is for what, and you get to choose the schedule as well, right? Now, LinkedIn really prioritizes their employees, and those signals I got when I said, "Hey, I can kind of interview early." The reason I was doing, I had other interviews going on in line, right? But she really said, "Hey, my interviewing team will need time," and they didn't want to rush. Like they didn't want to like put stress on the interview team either, which was very good signal of how employees, right? Uh, they had a different scheduling team who kind of works with the interviewers and helps schedule the slots. Now all my interviewers were part of the same team where I'm working today, so
Yeah.
part of the same org. That's now and these interviews went with over a schedule of like I think 2 to 3 weeks, right? I know someone for whom the entire process took more than 2 months as well. Simple reason is because it was our due to it. So it
I do.
then there were vacations and stuff, right? So I mean, they really want the best candidate, and that's a good signal of a good company, I would say. So you get to choose, right? So you don't need to worry about like, hey, have I completely prepped or not, right? If there are some areas, you do get enough time to prep for those subsequent rounds as well. The other
What were the duration of each particular round? Was it standard 30 minutes, 1 hour?
Yeah, so good question, right? In fact, I was going there. So for me, it was 45 minutes, scheduled 45 minutes. Some also took longer based on like how things went. But then, interestingly, one thing I noticed is more than one interviewers, I think they said that, hey, they're used to this 30-minute pattern. So I guess LinkedIn earlier used to
Yes.
30-minute rounds, but they recently changed it to 45, which I think is a good thing, at least for product interviews, right? So that's how it happened. And LinkedIn largely has product in the US. So what it meant is there were interviews late night for me.
Hmm.
So I suggest like be prepared for this. Right. For someone like me who's an early riser, early to sleep, I have to really adjust, but then I made sure I do that for like 2, 3 weeks so that I'm in my highest productive time. So
Nice, nice. Can we deep dive in one of the interview questions which you might remember? And like just I wanted for the audience to understand like what kind of questions are being asked and how do you answer them? So that any folks just remember what are the signals which the recruiters or the interviewers are trying to capture during this process.
I'll tell you this, right? Unlike, let's say, some companies like, say, Amazon, which has very specific types of local skills to test, in LinkedIn, I felt it was pretty generic and holistic, right? So,
Correct.
for example, the domain round, right? The domain round was more because it was focused on payments. It really tested my skills on not just like solving a product problem, which is generally there, but also like how does payment system work? How does a transaction work in credit cards and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Now, that was very domain or team specific, I would say, but that is one of the aspects to test, right? So, what I would suggest is rather than getting into like exact questions, picking up the cues from that recruiter call on what would each round evaluate is helpful. I did ask clarifying questions to the recruiter on what would really be tested and like what are some of the areas. You can ask questions like, is it going to be like a product case or behavioral or what could it be, right? The general answer, though, I most of the time get across all the companies is it could be a mix, it could be anything. So ultimately, it
Yes.
was on the interviewer. So it's not that LinkedIn wants a particular interview in a particular format. What they're
Hmm.
worried about is what are the skills to be tested. So a craft round, for example, will test for your product sense, versus a leadership will be could be more on execution plus your communication. So those are the things to really keep in mind. What am I being tested for, right? It's like really good. It really helps to keep them in your back, in the background, right? So it doesn't help to really talk about your domain expertise in a craft round, while in a domain expertise round it does, right? So that
Makes
was really
sense. Got it. Got it. Got it. Awesome. Yeah. What next? How was the upcoming rounds once you finished the loop? Do you had any further rounds? You got the offer?
yeah. So after these rounds were done, so LinkedIn, I think they meet once every week to like evaluate candidates, right? So after the loops were done, they take anywhere like most of the time they take anywhere in zero, 1 or 2 interviews. For me, it was
Hmm.
one. So this is what the recruiter had told me that I could be up to 2 interviews later to further evaluate. Now I had this one interview with a senior, right, who's my skip today basically, right? A senior product leader, a senior director in my case. And that was a 30-minute round. That was a relatively short round.
Hmm.
And this last round was somewhat unstructured, I would say, right? And again, something which I saw across companies, right? So for the loops, the good part is after 4 rounds, you somewhere get a sense, right? Like overall, how did you perform? You know that I
Correct.
one and I did great in two and so and so. This last one was more open-ended and like it asked really subjective or difficult questions, and it could even be like things like what would people say about you and like some open-ended questions to know you as a person. That was in my case. I don't know if that's a generic pattern, right? But
Hmm.
I think the questions really, if I really reflect, those are good ones to evaluate how do you think as a person, right? Beyond like your general prep. So that was the last one. After this, the process was quite transparent. So after this, they did take some good amount of time to like get back with the offer, but the recruiter kept me updated, right? So she updated. after letting me know what would be the next step. Then after they had made a decision, she updated me. She said we decided, and now we got an approval. We want to move forward with you, and we're now in the phase of coming up with an offer and stuff like that. They also asked me
Nice.
on what my expectations are, so they're very transparent. And the now just one call out for Microsoft folks, if there are any on this in the audience. For Microsoft, it's an internal transfer. What it really means is you get to continue your shares, and your employment date is the start date of your Microsoft, of your current employment, right? So you get it
Mhm.
small part, but still like you get it earlier. Now, what it means is, let's say, for example, you had 100 unvested shares. Uh, LinkedIn wants to offer you, say, a CTC of 500. They're not going to offer you 500 plus 100. They're practically like say, hey, we consider 100 as such because you already have, so we'll give you 400, right?
I
So
see.
it's not exactly that you'll get 100 extra, but at the same time, while LinkedIn might, this is what my understanding is, my interpretation, and I'm not speaking on behalf of LinkedIn, right? So if LinkedIn were to, in general, give someone, say, 450 in total, you might end up getting 500. Right? This is like 50 more because LinkedIn still has to only give you 400 instead of 450, but you get 500 instead of 450 because you had some committed unvested shares from another bucket of Microsoft. So it's a win-win for both. Right? So internal transfer, like it's a pretty good policy. At least it's there till today. I don't know if it's going to last, but yeah, that really helps you, right? So
Does the base also remain the same, or
no, no,
it
it
was a
exists.
new
You get
base
extra stock.
salary?
Everything else is external. So this is like on top of external. So you get extra base. You get everything is new, right? Base plus stock. You get additional stocks and everything, right? And LinkedIn generally, what sense I got by talking to people is it pays really fair, right? Not based on like, at least the trend I saw is it's not so much dependent on your current pay, but it's more dependent on your performance in interview performance, which is a really good thing. Which is so it seemed to be a very fair recruiter,
Exactly.
right? And this is something sets I got across also. If you're able to perform well, they won't downgrade you just because your current pay was less or something, right? Like they really be fair there.
Awesome. I think congratulations again, Mikul. As you were talking about your experience, I was also, going flashbacks about my experience 3 years back. And let me maybe give you a quick, overview of how was my interview process at LinkedIn. This is probably the first time I'm sharing it in a open channel. This was back in 2022 beginning, or 2021 end, when I think the way recruiter, I mean, I was shortlisted for the role. I don't remember exactly did I apply through it or one of the recruiter reached out to me through my LinkedIn profile. And post that, I think the hiring manager round, as usual, I told 45 minutes of interview. What happened? It was more about from my past experience and then a product strategy question which was discussed. And yeah, I think then there was a complete silence of 1 month, and I was thinking, hey, did I don't do well in the interviews? I was getting anxious. I was not receiving any feedback. I was trying to reach out to the recruiters, but that was a complete silence. I do understand that was a kind of a holiday season as well, so which might have added to the delay. But I think, yeah, that was the complete, I wouldn't say ghosting, but a kind of a 1 month waiting period for me to get back the results. And then the recruiter came and told things are positive. Let's keep moving forward and let's do the interview loop. For me, it was, I think, yeah, 3 to 4 rounds again. What was different was it was just 30 minutes of interview. And this was surprisingly for the first time I was giving interviews, which was 30 minutes of duration. It was very quick. And eventually, as you are talking and you see that you're towards the end, if I can remember some of the questions which we asked, I think it was, as Mikul was saying, this is more about trying to know you, your mindset. For example, right? One of the question which I was asked that, hey, what's the importance of a LinkedIn profile completeness? I mean, yeah, you don't need a structure to it. Based on your mindset, what is comes, how LinkedIn profile is connected to different other products in the ecosystem. If LinkedIn profile is complete, you will get relevant jobs. You will have relevant networking. So that are the kind of the aspects I was trying to talk. And yeah, that's what they were looking for. You don't need a structure, but on top of your mind, what you can talk about. So this was like kind of a one question I was asked. Other questions, which was like, hey, how would you improve the quality of any application? Yeah, simple. And then you talk about it. What do you mean by quality? What are the different aspects of quality and how you measure it, how you work on it? That's kind of a general discussion and how I built a quality apps. And I remember after all these three rounds, I was also for a further interview with another senior director or a VP, where very short, quick 30 minutes, and it was generally on communication and leadership. And, the product question, how would you explain LinkedIn to your grandparents? And these are like a real questions which were asked to me, and you have to communicate in a very simple way. So overall, my process took around 2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months, around that, and pretty lengthy because of the wait time. And I'm just talking about which added to the all the negotiation part as well. And definitely, as Mikul told, they value. I think a lot of negotiation depends on your interview performance. So if you have really nailed your interview, you have got a lot of margin to negotiate, which eventually happened in my case. I was able to negotiate a good margin from the initial offer to the final offer, which took around more 2 weeks for the entire negotiation and versus getting further approvals. But yeah, because of the interview experience was better, I was a kind of a very active user of LinkedIn. So that also added it, and I joined LinkedIn. I was there for a very short stint, but I really value the culture and the environment, and I really enjoyed it. What do you think about it, Mikul, from your recent experiences so far?
Yeah, it's awesome. And by the way, did you apply for senior PM or PM?
Oh, this was a PM. I think this was a mix. I think they were. I ended up getting a PM role, but yeah, it happens sometimes based on the answers or your kind of experience you're bringing. So I was eventually got a PM role at LinkedIn.
So reason I say is I want to share two tips with the audience, right? So one is because I was applying for senior PM, right? I think at least at a senior PM level, the somewhere the past experience does matter relatively more. So what happened is initially I had this hiring manager who was hiring me for this payments team, and but as I continued through the loop, and I didn't have an exact exposure in the payments domain. Right? I had more in the parent or business platform in some other domain. So one of the interviewers really liked me, and what eventually happened, he also wanted someone in his team, right? So eventually during the process, and he told me that we are still evaluating if you might also join my team, and I actually ended up joining his team towards the end, right? So the point I'm trying to make is they do assess your role fitness as well, like where will you succeed the best. So like here my initial hiring manager was someone else, and then he kind of felt that maybe this was based on my domain interview as well, right? Like I was doing good in others, but in the domain me and interviewer both kind of knew that this is not like my expertise, and we were very transparent in the conversation. The takeaway I want to take is one, like be honest. If you don't know, you don't know, right? Like it helps to say I don't know rather than like really going the other way and then not being able to perform well. So that helped me both in terms of succeeding, like clearing the interviews, and also help be like making me map to the right one. The other thing is, while he said this guy said that hey, we're still evaluating, and I did ask him what do they do. I kind of expressed my interest, right? I said, hey, I want to work more close to the customers that charges me.
Hmm.
What and less on the platform side of it, right? Like while our team is called business platform, it had all sort of work, right? Like there's a lot of tech platform backend heavy things which PMs need to do, especially in larger companies, and there were somewhere you really had the user experience, user facing. I did express this casually in the conversation. Today, I have really been working on some cool stuff, I would say, right? So like it's always good to like be opportunistic in these conversations, talk about what you really are looking for. They at least in my case, the team did try to map, and I'm very grateful to my current manager for being able to do that. Right. So that's one. The other thing I wanted to also share when you're talking about that last round, right, which ended up fast. I ended up preparing on common interview questions that's on LinkedIn Learning. No, not LinkedIn Learning. On LinkedIn.com, you have a section on interview prep, right? It's a premium offering. Not trying to sell, but then I was asked from it, right? I was asked questions from that list in my last round. Those are any platform for that matter, but we tend to undermine that how frequently the questions will be, right? So you might want to really try either LinkedIn or any other platforms where you see common product questions. I think you'll really like once you prepare, you'll understand how commonly the questions repeat because they're like a finite set of skills people are trying to evaluate. So I think it's worth preparing those common ones. So those are
Awesome.
the two extra tips I just wanted to share. And coming back to your question, LinkedIn, I found the culture awesome. They have really nailed the processes which on like on our PM's work, right? So people are welcoming, it's less stressful, right? Things move super fast, but I didn't feel the stress, right? Uh, uh, it's a very good size, and the way they've shaped up, even the CEO, I think, is in touch with a lot of product ramps, right? So it's really good to see like how people collaborate and like how close they, how data driven they are to like measure success, right? So like it's like you feel that real impact in a relatively less stressful way. And I'm repeating stress because every product manager can understand how stressful the job generally becomes, right? Like when you're trying to like get clarity and drive energy and stuff. So I so far in the first 2 months am like very optimistic about like and I really love the culture here. Right. I had this reservations 2 months back because I had to like drop my other interviews, right? I had to pause my Google for this, and Google is a big brand, right? But I don't get it today, right? I think it was a good decision. Right?
Absolutely. So what's next, Mikul? I think in terms of the hiring, in the last 3 years, multiple folks have reached out to me for, about the LinkedIn hiring, especially in the product manager management, which has been very limited. Do you feel any change it might happen about the hirings of product manager in LinkedIn India?
India, yes, I think so because the thing is, why I was hired is because the engineering got moved here and they wanted a PM as well, right? India,
Nice.
I would say, I think we just have like 20 PMs, I think not more. Right.
Correct.
So it's a very small PM work. Heavily, it's in the US. So I think globally, every company is investing in India. So is LinkedIn. And because engineering would grow, there'll be a ratio to maintain the PMs as well, right? So
Hmm.
I have consistently seen 1 to 1 to openings throughout for the last few months because even people do reach out to me as well for referrals, right? So I see those openings, right? And when I try to refer people, I think this is going to continue. My sense is, at least for India, it's very positive, right? LinkedIn is trying to expand, so it's a good time to like try.
Cool. I think we are towards the end of the episode. I think it's really fun talking to you and even sharing my experience and knowing about your experience. Any final suggestions, preparation tips, or for cracking the PM interviews in LinkedIn or outside companies as well, which you want to share it to the audience?
I think one is getting more prep partners really help. So
Mm.
if you are new to the process, get a mentor. It will charge you, but it's a good ROI. I've been on the other side, so I know that, right? Like I stopped doing this because of being a new father, but I know it's helpful. So find a good mentor and prep, or at least find good buddies. There's this Lewis Lynn's sheet, right? You can just Google. It's a free sheet where like people can prep together. That mock prep really helps in cracking, and even as I said, negotiating it helps, right? And second is try for multiple, right? For me, having multiple companies interviews in parallel help. And while everyone, like except Amazon, I would say, while everyone has different like pitches on how they interview, practically I feel most of them are almost the same when it comes to product interviews, right? Because the course it's remain the same, right? So I think it's very helpful to like get into that comfort zone, right? So that's what I would say, right? And ask for help. Like you will be surprised how much help you can get from people around, right? Because everyone has been there. And I mean, reach out to me if you need help. Just send a personal. If you're reaching out on LinkedIn, send out a personalized note so that I can filter out the spam. But yeah, I would be happy to help.
Cool. So this was Mikul, Senior Product Manager at LinkedIn. I hope you enjoyed the episode, understanding the LinkedIn interview experience for product manager and a senior product manager. If so, please like, share, and share this episode to a lot of friends who might be needing some help in cracking their next PM interview. Thank you so much, and see you in the upcoming episode.